Marvel is officially making their reboot to the X-Men series. There is a few cast members who've been announced. There's a few who have been theorized or rumored on the internet, and a lot of people have a lot of things to say about it. Me, as the biggest X-Men fan of all time, I have a lot of opinions about this, and I'm going to say them to you, and I hope that you agree with some of them. And if you don't, I would love to know what you think about them. Let's get it. X time. All right, this section I'm going to call the original X-Men. This is something that I kind of saw coming when they announced when they initially bought the Fox universe, the Fox characters, and wanting to put the X-Men characters in the Marvel films. I did have a brief belief of, are they going to go the original X-Men, the original 5 route, that being Cyclops, Iceman, Jean Grey, Angel, and Beast. Look, I know this isn't the most marketable group, but this was the original group from the comics, and they have never really been portrayed as that in most versions of the X-Men. I think aside from the X-Men animated series, just about every version has had a different original group of X-Men as an introductory group. Which I get it. I mean, it makes sense. You know, characters like Angel and Iceman aren't probably the most marketable characters for your first film in your series, especially when there's characters who are by now way better well known due to how much media they've been in over the years, that you're not going to include them in your film. I understand why they weren't chosen. I'm not like upset about that, but I think that it is causing a precedence in a lot of comic book films of rewriting the original stories and making them to more broadly appeal to an audience as opposed to writing them for comic accuracy. It seems in this case they're wanting to go for more notable or memorable characters as opposed to who were the first characters to appear in the comics. And, you know, what are you going to do? I saw this coming. It's not like it's that big a deal. All right, this next part I'm calling the Emma Frost problem. One of the confirmed actors, I believe there are 3 confirmed right now. One of them has been Samara Weaving as Emma Frost, and I think this is a great cast. She looks exactly like what you would think Emma Frost looks like from the comics. She's previously been portrayed by January Jones in the X-Men First Class film. I think that this is a really good casting. I like Samara Weaving in like a lot of the things I've seen her in, whatever, you know, the Ready or Not films. She's good. She's good like the new Margot Robbie girl they're calling her. So I think this is really good casting. She got the look for the part. It is a bit interesting. I've seen some other people online reference how she is a bit older than the current cast they have for Cyclops and Jean Grey. Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Emma Frost famously in the comics have this sort of a love triangle of Cyclops going back and forth between Emma Frost and Jean Grey, and Samara Weaving being in her early 30s, the cast being in their young 20s, and I believe are portraying younger than that. I believe they're playing teens. Samara probably like 20s or 30s, I imagine, her Emma Frost. And it could be interesting to see if they're going to go that love triangle route, especially with Scott Summers and Emma Frost. I could see what I imagine is she's going to be playing some sort of a villainous role in this film. Obviously, in the comics, she was a part of the Hellfire Club. She started off as a villain before eventually becoming part of the X-Men. Emma Frost, you know, historically is a very somewhat sexual character, both in her look, the way she dresses, but also in her powers. She has mental powers, and she kind of uses them for seduction. And I think my theory, to cast a theory out there, they might be going for some sort of a Scott Summers torn between, you know, X-Men and Hellfire situation, possibly using the Emma Frost character as sort of like a teacher that is trying to seduce her young student. This is something like we see a lot in the news today about high school teachers, you know, taking advantage of their students. This could be Marvel trying to portray that sort of concept through the characters, like good and evil, is this older woman acting inappropriately towards this teen boy. I don't know. I mean, I think that she's good casting. I do think this causes another problem, which is the cast they are a bit young. If they're going to be in their teens, they're younger than Peter Parker, which traditionally, I mean, the X-Men are older than Peter Parker, and this has already been set up in the Spider-Man Brand New Day film. Jean Grey is younger or around the same age as him, which hasn't really been the case. I think it kind of messes with the timeline a little bit. There's kind of nothing they could do about it now because they introduced Spider-Man before the X-Men, and they're not doing like a time travel thing or anything like that, so they have to have it make sense that they would be a bit younger, especially if they're going into Professor Xavier's school. And there has been young X-Men, obviously, in the comics. Like, they started off young. There's a time traveling version where the young versions of the original 5 come to the present and they interact with the rest of the X-Men. I think the Ultimate X-Men, they are all portrayed as younger, so it's been, obviously it's been a thing in the comics before. I do think it is a bit odd with the Peter Parker age versus the age of the X-Men, but I mean that's like a nothing nitpick. This is like, who cares about that? The one that I think it does kind of raise some questions is there's a rumor of Kitty Pryde appearing in the film, and she is significantly younger than the rest of the X-Men traditionally. She's in her early teens once they are all adults, and she's kind of like the young hip character for a while until Jubilee comes around. But she was always the younger character. There's obviously been some controversy with her character having a relationship with Colossus, and it doesn't seem like they're bringing that up in this film, at least so far. The rumored casting outside of Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Emma Frost have included Storm, Kitty Pryde, Rogue, and Beast, which again, this seems to be a more notable lineup. These are all characters who have been in things in the past. These are all characters who people would recognize. So it makes sense they would start their series with this kind of more famous lineup than having other characters like a Iceman or a Nightcrawler on there. Even though I think that like a Nightcrawler or Colossus could be a good addition to the group, but it seems they're trying to really strip it down, start small, and then maybe build up to a larger X-Men, expanded group in the future. But for now, I do think that this does sound like a good team. Maybe if you threw a Nightcrawler or a Colossus or an Iceman in there, it could be, add some nice diversity of color, because like all the costumes, the colors, I think it really, I just hope that they don't stick to some sort of a monotone color. Like that shot in the first Avengers film, I know people complain the Avengers films are all kind of muted colors, but that shot where you see the lineup of all of them and they're all in their different colors, I think we've never really gotten that with something for an X-Men film. So it would be nice to see a diverse lineup of comic accurate X-Men costumes. I think that would be very cool. And the last thing I will say, the Wolverine solution is that they're not, at least right now, it doesn't seem like they're including Wolverine. He could be included in it, and just they haven't announced it yet. They might not want to cast him. I know a lot of people have said they don't want to see a Wolverine in this first film. They don't want the X-Men to focus on Wolverine like how the previous ones, all of them basically focused on Wolverine, except for some of the post First Class ones. But even those ones, he's still featured in roles in them. It's just he wasn't the central character. I think it's good that they're kind of taking a step back from him. I'm sure they'll have some sort of, if he's not in this one, they'll probably have some sort of a post-credit scene or some sort of a little tease of Wolverine coming. I know people are saying Hugh Jackman, but I think that like once they do the Secret Wars and they get all their Hugh Jackman out of their system, I think he's going to be done, because he's going to be like, how is he, like 60 now? Like he's up there. I don't think he's going to be able to do that. They might find some way to bring him back in somehow, but yeah, I mean, it would make sense for them to get someone else in there. So these are just some thoughts on the X-Men casting announcements. I know people say that I ramble too much in these videos and that I don't have cohesive thoughts or notes or scripts, but I don't need that. I know enough about the X-Men, and I know about my thoughts on the X-Men to be able to talk about them long form. So let me know if you agree. Let me know who you want to see in the X-Men film, what villain you want to see. They're saying Mystique and maybe Magneto. Is that too basic? Are they finally going to bring in Mr. Sinister or Apocalypse? I want to hear it all down below. I'll see you next time. Big peace.